respect in the game.
The next two games of the Women's Super League are absolutely pivotal for Manchester United. A win here today and another win against West Ham next time out will put them in prime position to finally overhaul Chelsea. They must take care of business over the next two. So, it's almost the final countdown, let's say. Just by my reckoning, there are 6 games remaining, including this one, match day 18 of the Women's Super League, and it looks to be between Chelsea and Manchester United as far as the title race is concerned. Manchester City losing ground after a 3-0 win for Chelsea against them last time out. It doesn't knock them out of it entirely, but it certainly makes their job a bit tougher. But United really start to need favours from other teams or get a result here against Chelsea later in the season. I think it's pretty much either the penultimate game or the last game but 3 that United take on Chelsea on that day. Back to kind of normal strength formation for United today. Still no Ella Toone, still no Hayley Ladd, still out for a while, but the international break's coming up, and I think there's every hope that Ella Toone will be back for that game against, I can't really remember who it is, but it will be, and there will be hope for United. If Ella Toone can make it back sooner rather than later, then maybe this title race really could be on. But of course, favours from other teams wouldn't go miss, but they don't look like getting one at the moment. Manchester City couldn't even deal with the overwhelming force that is Chelsea in this Women's Super League season. It is going to come down to that game between United and Chelsea at Old Trafford, you have to feel. And the way that Manchester United were played off the park at Stamford Bridge earlier in the season, one could be forgiven for thinking that was probably the turning point of the entire year, but there's still one left. And to be fair, United are a lot stronger then, or now, than they were back then. So, United just need to keep doing their thing, keep winning these games, and hopefully it'll all come to them in the end. But it really is going to go down to that clash later in the season. For Everton, their last game against Manchester United as a kind of team playing at Goodison Park. The Goodison Park farewell tour isn't over yet. Arsenal still have to face them in the Premier League. And of course, to point you in a direction, at the penultimate game of the year will be Everton's final game at Goodison Park ever. And we'll bring you live exclusive coverage of that game. Here's Reina. Oh, he's at the post. She's at the post rather. And that was a good hit. But, yep. The farewell Goodison tour will finally end in their game against Southampton on the penultimate game of the season. And the penultimate game of 2020 to 2025. And, or 24 to 25, let's say. I think I said 2020. I apologise for that. But the 24-25 season has been quite a stellar one all round, isn't it? And we've got title fights across the board. We've got Arsenal springing the surprise in the Champions League, no less. But they've got Atletico Madrid coming up. And that's going to be a tough task, even if they did beat them in the league phase match between the two. Of course, the big news involving Atletico Madrid is, I think, the signing of Darwin Núñez from Liverpool that went there. So that'll be an interesting matchup to see him again, if he does play, of course. Diego Simeone getting some strikers on board. Strike there, but I think it was Payne, and Kingsbury gets the ball. Well, she came over with, I believe, 2 clean sheets out of 2, but I don't think it's kept one since, unfortunately. Thankfully for her, her team have been 3 or 4 goals in front by then. Here's Payne again. But that man, Mike Skinner, well, he did bring Fiona Dodds on for the second half against Aston Villa, and she performed really well. She let in a goal, but she also scored 2. She also saved a penalty and another really good chance. And Elizabeth Taylor, well, she's been the revelation since the likes of Toon and Jesse went down with an injury. She's had to kind of step up her production somewhat, and she certainly has done that this season. She scored a hat-trick against Aston Villa, and the game was pretty much out of sight by the end of the first half with that performance. Dalton into the box again, and another good save from the Everton keeper. They keep the ball here. Jensen heads forward. It's with Tierland and now Mizawa. We've not really seen a lot of this year. But she gets a bit of a rare start today. And here's Payne for Everton again. Oh, just wide. She's not going to get any closer than that without hitting the woodwork. That was a stunning strike, and had Kingsbury grabbing it there and sending a couple of early warning messages to Manchester United there. Called by Turner, but Everton keep the ball. And Reyners fell over. And another strike. And another strike wide. And it's actually a corner. I think it came off Hank Janssen, I believe. With the cross in, Kingsbury didn't really get all of that, did she? And Guabo. And looks like Domingo's just going to keep that in just about. Northland heads wide, but only as far as Humengrad. Now Hayashi. And Everton really look like the most likely scoring at the moment. And Turner, I think, almost got there, but not quite. With a goal kick. It's a good tackle by Letitia. Nelson gives it away though. Here's Hayashi, and Letitia gathers it back up. Well, would you have believed it when, if someone would have told you that Millie Turner was going to sign, I think it was Millie Turner, but I think it was like, and an early shot there, but I think it was Millie Turner. I think it was earlier this week actually. If you told me we were going to have a contract signing with a dog, I would have jumped up a chance to see it. Oh boy. Well, as a dog lover myself, it was certainly one of the best things I'd ever seen. What a wonderful idea. I certainly would have loved to have a dog at my contract signings, I'll tell you that much for free. Unfortunately, never really got to bring my, well, I say mine, it was a really strange story with my dog, the missus' dog that is. We rather inherited it, to be honest. But, yeah. Fortunately, some circumstances meant we had to move around a bit, and unfortunately, Cooper wasn't able to come with us as a result. But we've been reassured that he's found a friend and is living his best life, and that's good to know. Issue with the corner. Anyway, back to the game. Although I could talk about dogs all day, quite honestly. Lee Turner has certainly set a new standard for contract sightings and what to expect there now. Oh, look how much space Tillen has here. She's got to score. She passes on to Nielsen instead, and she does the scoring. Tillen wanted to make an assist for herself, and she picked the right person out for it. And United win again, or lead again. And look at this space. It's not great defending from Everton, to be fair, but it's just the power of United so far that'll keep the pressure on Chelsea. That's all they can do for the moment until they get that matchup. And they'll be looking to really avenge the day they were played off the park at Stamford Bridge. And as we said earlier, they're much better off now than they were then, on a very good winning streak. Kingsbury's done fantastically well in goal, conceding much less goals than they did previously. And of course, all expectation is that the likes of Hayley Ladd and Ella Toom will be back from their injuries by then, so there'll be no excuses when that match comes around if Manchester United don't win it. Other than Chelsea just probably being a little bit better, maybe. Because in that last matchup, they certainly were. Guavo, tackled by Sander Bergen, out for a throw. Gali in here, and now Everton need to capitalise on the form they showed early on in this first half. A slightly better side in terms of the chances, but Manchester United take what they can get, and they take it very well lately. The 10 shirt you're seeing on Reyna isn't actually her squad shirt. She's kind of borrowing it for a couple of matches. I'm sure that will be rectified later, because she hasn't had actually a number confirmed yet. They're still kind of deciding on that for her at the moment, so she's kind of wearing 10 as a placeholder, but she will get a more, I would say, I don't know if appropriate is the right word, but generally what you do with, say, fringe or academy players is you probably more than likely, unless it's a mitigating circumstances or just someone that prefers another number, you get kind of lower down the number tree. That's generally the rule of thumb in football, or at least that's what I grew it up to be. I always thought that, number 1's played in goal and number 9s and 10s played as strikers growing up, to be honest. It's kind of how I remember it. I'm not really sure if that was the case or not. For the most part, it can be down to player choice. I certainly had my fair share of number player choice. The 91 is a special number for me, obviously. With the wins at the final win tally of the great Michael Schumacher in Formula 1 racing. Unfortunately, that's been very much eclipsed by Lewis Hamilton as time has gone on. He's had his own career of absolute greatness, to be fair. Here's Reina. Here's Galton. That's a brilliant turn. Domingo gets there very quickly, in fact. Galton gets it back immediately, though. And Tillon lined up a shot. Finnegan throwing herself in front of the ball there. Got Barrow to pay. Sanderberg. Well, we're approaching the end of the first half. It's been a very even game, to be fair. Manchester United ahead on the scoreline, but on the pitch aside from that, it's been very even. Maybe Everton being the slightly better in terms of creating the chances. Manchester United took theirs for the most part. Reina did hit the bar earlier, I believe. Now it's Tillon. Tillon has really stepped up in recent weeks, and she's going to score again. Wow, this woman's on a roll at the moment, scoring for fun. And she is very slowly catching up to Jose and Ella Toon in the scoring chart in front of her at the moment. That's another goal for her today. Well, she got 3 last time out against Aston Villa. I believe now she's only just maybe 2 or 3 behind the 2 ahead of her. You have to say, she's become the unsung hero, really. And that is the end of the first half, and Manchester United have really weathered the storm that Everton brewed up early in the first half. Tillon gets another, and for her, and that puts her over closer to the top of the chart after Nursland, of all people, opened the scoring off her own assist. United 2, Everton 0. Welcome back to Old Trafford for the second half, and Manchester United are already up by 2 goals to 0, and not out of sight though. Everton have certainly made their chances, they just haven't been able to really take them today. But United have certainly taken theirs, and still trying to keep that pressure on Chelsea at the top, making sure they have to win by winning themselves. That's wonderfully done by Elizabeth Taylor. She gets another, and she is absolutely on it. Straight out of the dressing room, back onto the pitch, and back of the net for the ball. Elizabeth Taylor is on a roll here. What a wonderfully jump over the challenge. Kept her balance and composure afterwards, and put it in the back of the net. And she is on a roll, and she will not want Ella Toon and Jose to come back, because right now I think she's right on their tail in the goal scoring chart now, and makes Manchester United's lead pretty much mostly secure by 3 goals to 0. And I think here she comes again. And I think that might have been Norsland actually, but she tried to chip the keeper. Such is United's confidence these days. Well, if Manchester United have ironed out that inconsistency probably a little bit sooner, then maybe they'd be leading the table right now, but there's still a chance of rectifying that situation, as long as they keep it up to that from here on out. Tillon is up again, and unfortunately she doesn't put that time. Tackled there by Sanderberg. Payne. Good tackle by Janssen. United have been very solid defensively for the most part this season. When they have been up to snuff defensively, they've kept clean sheets and they've done very well doing it. And that's a tackle by Finnegan, and she's ended up with her teammate as the goalkeeper. Good tackle by Letitia. Tackles Mazao, and she's away now. She puts the ball in and ends up into the arms of Kingsbury. Very greatly takes that one. Oh, bad touch of the ball there by Rayner. And that's a good save. There's a strike by Hayashi, who's another one who's looked like scoring for Everton for the most part today. But that. It's a good save. That's another good tackle off the corner there. And take it short. Nelmet and Janssen gets there, and I think Nelmet was looking for a shot. Here's Payne. Oh, it's in off the bar. It's 3-1. Another good strike. She's looked to kind of score all afternoon. And really, I think it was kind of a mix-up here. United pretty much in disarray. But to be fair, Payne strikes this sweet as a nut. Kingsbury. Oh, she's unfortunate. She really is unfortunate. Oh, that was a good attempt. Oh, it's a good strike by Payne, to be fair. Well, Payne does give Everton some lease of life in this game. Well, not lease of life, but certainly a hope. But back come United almost instantly with Rayner here. And that's a goal for her. And that's her first ever goal for United, I think. And she may well celebrate. That was wonderfully done. No one really expected her to make the run she did. And cool as you like, really. Oh, an instant response. And Galton picks her out very well here. Well-timed run. Nobody at Everton saw that coming. And I believe that's her first ever goal for the club, I think. And another young, talented player gets their first ever United goal. And that certainly is the case for Rayner today. As Old Trafford continues to be the proving ground for the brightest of talents. And Rayner is certainly one of them today. Somali's another one as well. And even Dodds put her name up in lights for a little while. Ball over the top. Letitia does get there though. And it's Payne again. Kingsbury with the resulting goal kick. And it left them on the head of Tilland, and Mizawa almost got there. The referee was looking to play advantage, but she has pulled it back now. I think United still had the ball, so I'm not sure what was going on, and then Galton gave it away. Mendu. Certainly trying to make it as much of a game as possible. I have to say the game is pretty much out of sight now. A lot can happen in 20 minutes. such as United's prowess this season, or at least in the second half of it, it is very unlikely that they will relinquish this lead. Payne certainly had her say today. Garley with the forces a save out of the keeper, and Payne is tackled by Turner. It's out for a corner. And that was Payne's last action. I think it's Madison that's come on now. Or Madsen, actually. And Finnegan. Well, that was a very good attempt. That's a good header. Unfortunately, not good enough to be a goal. Oh, Old Trafford is absolutely packed to the rafters today. I think there's more people turning up here than for men games at the moment, because the men's situation is pretty dire, although to be fair, oh, hang on, the rain is offside. To be fair, things are starting to click for Ruben Almiron somewhat. I think next season will be much more telling as far as Manchester United are concerned. Almiron's made the real best of what he's got. And as we were saying, obviously that interview that Jim Ratcliffe gave, saying that the cuts were necessary because of, if it hadn't been made, Manchester United, the great Manchester United, an institution. Not just a way of life in football, but an institution. Well, it really is a way of life for United fans and players alike. This once, well, I say once great, it still is. But this great institution would have been in administration. Unbelievable stuff there. Like, that's just an unbelievable thought, isn't it? Of course, it does date back to the Glazers and the way they run the club. It's been well documented for over 2 decades, but nothing has really been done about it to force their hand, as it were, despite numerous protests throughout the years. But I think the real kind of thing there was for the first 7 years of the Glazers' reign at Manchester United, they were managed by the great Alex Ferguson, who was still winning things at the time. So no one really bat an eyelid at it. The only ones who did were the founders of FC United. They were really disgruntled. But after that, there were protests even in the winning era, but like we said, no one really bat an eyelid at it now. It has all come to fruition over the last year or so. Here's Northern, and now with plans of a new stadium and the women's football team especially doing the business, things could be finally looking up for Manchester United, and we dearly hope that this great institution does not fall into any more dire straits, to be honest. It's just so, doesn't bear thinking about. A team and a way of life for football fans used to winning, used to succeeding. Let's be honest, before the Glazers took over, they were debt-free. Now, the debt is in excess of £2 billion, and despite the numerous successes that have come in that time, it's still not been paid off. Oh, and off the bar. And Everton really are pushing forward, but it's just not falling their way today. But if this women's team is certainly giving a lot of United fans to smile about, that could be a booking at the very least. And it is for losing hope. Probably lucky not to be in the book. We've seen only to be in the book. We've seen sending offs for very similar instances. So Hope is very lucky to be still on the pitch in that regard. down to Letitia. And what a feel-good story it would be for these women to win a league title and be the first league winners since Alex Ferguson's 2013 title-winning reign. In a year that was proved an absolutely crucial signing, very much like Arsenal this season. The signing of Robin van Persie was completely influential in that title win. Vowed never to lose on goal difference again after losing by that exact scenario the season before, and the infamous Aguero goal. Ferguson vowed to never lose that way again. Bought Van Persie, and the rest was history. Very much like what Arsenal are doing now. You know, they come so close a couple of seasons ago, then they were even closer last. Now, finally, and that's a good save by Kingsbury, finally Arsenal could be over the line. And the signing of Alexander Isak tells pretty much 95% of the story, as he is closing in on that Premier League record of 36 set by Erling Haaland just last season, I think. But here at Old Trafford today, it's been another Manchester United masterclass, doing what they need to do, winning where they need to win, and keep the pressure on Chelsea. But it is going to come down to that game between the two at Old Trafford later this season, I think. And Manchester United, like we said, much better off wise that now than they were then, and could have Ella Toon and Hayley Lamb back by then as well, and that could really swing the pendulum in their direction. They beat Everton today by 4-1. It was rather comfortable in the end, and Manchester United once again just doing what they need to do, as Elizabeth Tierland is absolutely thriving right now. Another 2 goals for her today, putting her ever closer to her teammates at the top of the scoring chart. Manchester United free scoring today and winning by 4-1 to keep the pressure on at the top. Having a look at all the other scores today, Liverpool and Arsenal, and Liverpool win again, believe it or not. Oh no, that was last week's score, I think. We actually read that wrong, sorry. Chelsea 4, West Ham 1 keeps their lead at the top, coinciding with our coverage today. Brighton and Manchester City to play to a 2-2 draw, which means City could be effectively out of this title race now. Arsenal do win again, though, as they keep their hold on 4th. Villa beat Liverpool, and Leicester beat Spurs. That means the table is pretty much as you were, except Liverpool are back down at the bottom now.